Hey, it's Heidi Rain. Welcome home. I am so glad that you are back again. And if you're not back again and you're brand new, let me say again, welcome home and tell you I'm so glad that you're here and you found me. Can you imagine that? On the how big is YouTube, right? I believe that everything is by design, divine design. And so if you made it here today, I'm going to trust that this video is going to hold the keys for you to unlock the prison to that you're in, which is addiction, codependency, or some kind of toxic, dysfunctional relationship, so that you can free yourself. And what's on the other side of that? Psychological freedom from obsessing all the time about what the heck to do and not to do. Emotional freedom. Get off the damn roller coaster of emotions that run the gamut from numb all the way through to losing your ever loving mind. And spiritual freedom and financial freedom and all the things that we seek. And it's really hard to feel free when you're captive, held captive in a toxic or dysfunctional relationship. But this channel and my whole philosophy is about empowerment. It's helping you understand and see that you do have choices, you do have options, and you can decide at any time to rewrite the story that you're currently living, especially if that happens to be a nightmare. Right? You're the author. You get to choose. And I know sometimes that's really hard because you can feel really stuck. But we always have a choice. We have a choice how to see things, how to think. And that's where we're going to start today. Today, I get asked this question all the time, which is, how do I deal with the guilt? I know I hear Heidi, you saying that, the first step is accepting people for who they are and really deciding if I want to stay in this thing or not. But let's say I do go. I have a lot of guilt, especially when it comes to leaving an addict or an alcoholic. How could I leave them when they're at their absolute worst? So I'm going to walk you through a process today that'll help set you free a little bit from being a prisoner to those thoughts. Now, again, if you're new here, I'm Heidi Rain, and the whole goal of this channel and the work that we do over at Love Coach Heidi is to help educate, first of all, the impact of being in a relationship with an addict or an alcoholic or a codependent or dysfunctional relationship, because our aim is, with that awareness and that insight, is to give expert level coaching so that you can break free from all that codependent toxic behavior cycles, so that we can really end these generational dysfunction cycles for good, so that you can be the change for the next generation and the next generation. And we just keep getting happier and healthier as we go along. My goal in my own recovery was to give my daughter a childhood she didn't have to heal from. That's the goal, right? That's the bare minimum around here. And certainly being with an addict and alcoholic leaves a huge impact. So let's go over how you can process some of those guilty feelings that you might be having for leaving and what you can do about it. Okay, so there's really just a couple of steps. I mean, I'm a simple girl. I like to lay things out, even complicated, complex ideas. I believe one of my areas of giftedness is to be able to take those really complex ideas and simplify them. Now, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything, thank God, or else what's the point of living? You stop learning if you know everything, right? We want to constantly be learning and growing. So what I'm giving you and sharing with you is a perspective that I hold. Now, it's an educated perspective. All right, I spent almost a decade inside of one of the world's leading drug and alcohol treatment centers, where I was a teacher there, lead faculty. I created and ran the family program there and all the codependency programming. And I've seen thousands of clients and hundreds of families. So what I'm going to share with you are some of the strategies that I've given to my families over the years. Also now, as I run my private programs and my coaching experiences, these are dialogues that we have all the time. So I'm going to give you some of that insider information. But as always, one of the things that we need to really remember on this journey is that information is everywhere. YouTube is so amazing, and we can go on here and find the answer to anything. The information isn't always what you struggle with, although I know that's really important for you. I think a big part of the struggle that we have is the implementation, right? It's like I take all this information and I put some perspiration in it and I implement it into my life. And that's where we kind of get stuck. And that's the benefit and the value of having myself come alongside of you, okay? Having me come alongside of you in one of our programs or our retreats or workshops, where we can get down to it and kind of break through some of the resistance that you're having to applying some of this stuff, or really just solidify and deepen your understanding so that you can break free for good, all right? What are you thinking that's creating the guilt? That's step number one. Step number one is recognizing that you are making stuff up all the time. Now, I know that sounds silly because it can feel so real to you. Like, I'm not making up. This is the truth. This is really how I think and feel. But step number one is become aware of the story that you're telling yourself that is creating and exacerbating the guilt. I'm eating a hair. Become aware of the story that you're telling yourself. And then the second, there's really only two steps, maybe three. Step one is, what story are you telling yourself? And step two is, don't believe everything you think. Be willing to question. So I'm giving the whole thing away. Step number three is get support when you need it. But look, now we're going to dive into those steps because I know that sounds super simple, but what do you mean? Okay. There are only a couple things that you could really be making up that are responsible for all the guilt that you feel. Because again, feelings don't come out of thin air. Like, I just wake up and I feel guilty. They come on the heels of a thought or a behavior that drum the feeling up. So if I can sit with the feeling long enough and I have the guilt and I don't try to push it away by ignoring it or drinking it or eating it away, I sit with it long enough to say, what am I thinking that's creating this guilt? What is the story I'm telling myself? Now, I think it was Landmark or some other program that prefaces everything that's a challenge by saying, hey, the story I'm making up is. And when you're in an argument with somebody, that's really powerful to say to somebody like, hey, you were late for dinner and the story I'm making up is you don't care about me. Give somebody an opportunity to say, well, at least that's a story you're making up and it's not the gospel and the absolute truth, right? So what story are you making up about your guilt? There's only a couple. Okay, I'm going to give you the ones that I've heard over the years and years I've been doing this work. The first thing we make up is, I'm a bad person if I leave. Another thing we make up is, I'm going to leave and they're going to get better and I'm going to miss out. So suddenly, as soon as I go, they're going to get in recovery and get their head on straight, and then I'm going to miss this great relationship. Another story we make up is, I'm going to leave them and nobody else is going to come along and I'm going to die alone. I mean, you could ride that one all the way into the sunset, can't you? All that fear that comes along with that. Another story is, they're going to die if I leave. They're going to get much, much worse. Another story that we make up is, the kids need a fill in the blank, a father, a mother, a what have you. Another story is, it's my job. It's my responsibility to care for that person. So have I got your story? Did I pull it up, right? Can you relate to one of those things that you're thinking, or is it something else? And if it is, put it in the comments below. Let me know. But these kind of are the majority of ones, okay, that we think. And I'm going to break down each one of these and teach you how to question your own mind and not believe everything you think. Sometimes we just want the answer. And I know my clients and students come to me all the time in my program, and I do that for them where they say, tell me exactly what to say in this situation. I say, sure, I'll tell you exactly what to say. And I give people the verbatim answers they're looking for when somebody asks for this, or how to set a boundary with that, and so on. But in this scenario, I'm really trying to teach you how to think differently, because I believe that's the best gift that I can give you, is to start to think differently, start to see things from a brand new perspective. It's hard when you're dealing with an addict or an alcoholic because you're used to seeing things one way. You're used to dealing with things one way. So if we can shift that perspective, broaden it, open it wide up, and get you in the habit of questioning your own mind in a positive way, then we can change your life. Now, here's the thing. You're used to being gaslit out of your thoughts and your feelings, probably by the addict or alcoholic. So questioning isn't a thing that you're foreign to. You question your sanity on a regular basis. Are they drunk? Are they drinking? Are they using? Are they high? Are they working a recovery? Are they at that meeting? Did they lie? Are they stealing? Are they cheating? All the things that you think all the time. And you're used to questioning your mind, but not in a positive way. You're used to doing it in a negative way, where we have a thought like they're cheating or they've relapsed, and then suddenly what we do is search for evidence, because the cognitive dissonance will drive us crazy. So we want to find evidence that it's true. What you're doing in this case is you're looking for evidence that it's not true. Or if somebody's gaslighting you, they're trying to talk you out of their own, talk you out of your own feelings when it's disparaging towards them. When they're, I know it's getting a little confusing, but let me try to break it down. When somebody's gaslighting you and they're saying, I'm not drunk, I didn't use, and they make you feel bad. And they say things like, if you keep telling me that I'm using, you're going to make me use. You know, they will confuse you out of your own intuition, right? So there's many ways that you've been questioning your own mind for good and for bad. But in this instance, I'm going to teach you how to question your own mind for good, for the good of you, which is not to believe everything you think, like I'm a bad person. Well, how do you stop thinking that? Okay, so step number 2 is question your thoughts. Let's get back to being simple. I think I complicated it there for you and I didn't need to. Maybe I should have made like 4 videos there instead of 1. But that's the point, you know, of like being inside of the program with me, and having this support system so that you can stop me and say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean there? Can you say that again? Or can you answer this, how this relates to that? And that's the beauty of having access to me that way. But let's go ahead and go through them one at a time. Let's say that the thought that you're having is, I'm a bad person if I leave them. Well, if I'm going to question that thought, I'm going to ask myself, well, what about that in particular makes me a bad person? I'm just even going to start so basic. Okay, well, what about that? Well, then I can launch into all the things that I'm telling myself, like I should be loyal. Okay, maybe that's the answer you get. Well, I'm a bad person leaving because you should be a ride or die. You should be with somebody in sickness and health, for better or worse. You know, that's the belief system that you hold. Well, you have to be willing to even question that belief system. Where did you learn that idea? That you're supposed to sign up for torture, and if you're not tortured in a relationship and sticking it out, that you're a bad person. Likely, if you got into a relationship with an addict or an alcoholic, this isn't the first time. You likely grew up, most of the time. A lot of people are adult children of alcoholics or other dysfunctional parents, and you learned early on that misery is the compass. You know, it's like, well, my parents are, you know, abusive or hurtful or unkind or absent or addicted, but the message is, those are your parents. You got to love them no matter what. You have to stick it out. So your training ground is like, stick it out when you're in pain. And that's the belief system that you hold that says, I'm a bad person if I go. What if you grew up in an environment that reaffirmed, hey, the best thing you could do is take excellent care of yourself so that you can be in a good position where you're not a martyr, you're not a sacrificial lamb, you're not hurting yourself, because when you exit that situation, you get to be the better version of you. What if it were true that you were a bad person for staying in because it made you feel bad? Right? And not that you're a bad person like morally, but that you're no good to anybody. You're full of resentment, you're full of anger, you're full of pain. You see, whenever you start this thinking differently and start to question your own thoughts, you can go a million different directions. I happen to be very good at it, so I can help you move out of that very quickly. As you're learning this, you might not have the best questions. You might not come up with the best questions to shift your focus or reframe what you're thinking. But with practice, I promise you, over time, you'll get better and better. And again, if you come into one of my programs, this is something that we learn to do constantly. We're consistently questioning the beliefs that are destructive to us so that we can reframe the way we think and the way we believe. Because once you do that, you move into your life really empowered and equipped to not get taken out by everything that comes along with you. You root down in your value and you find and speak your truth and find things that are more true than an old program that you've been running on autopilot, right? Which is, good people stay miserable. So if I believe I'm a bad person for leaving, the flip side of that is, well, do I believe that good people sign up for misery? That good people should stay in dysfunctional and toxic relationships? Because that's really what you're saying. Well, if I was a good person, I'd stay. So good people stay in dysfunctional, toxic relationships? Okay, so let's even get rid of the good and bad conversation. What kind of a person stays in a toxic or dysfunctional relationship? Lots of good people and bad people, irrelevant, moral compass or not. There are a lot of other reasons that people stay. So what are some other reasons that we're staying in this besides that conversation if I'm a good or bad person? So be willing to explore that and think a little bit differently. My little baby wants to come up. This is Sugar. Say hello to the people. Hello, people. Hi. You don't want to? You just want to love on mama? I know. You know, you can't get enough. Chihuahuas shed every time, so I wear a lot of white. Oh, yeah. You're the baby. Say hi. Say hi to your friends. Okay. Let's go on with some of these other thoughts and start to question some of them. Let's think. This is a really big one. If I leave, I feel guilty for leaving because the story I'm making up, the story I'm telling myself, is that if I leave, they'll die without me or they'll get much, much worse in their addiction. This is a tough one because you really truly believe that you are the hero and the fixer. And a lot of people that are in relationships with addicts or alcoholics are fixers. One of my attachment personality patterns that I've come up with to describe codependence. If you're curious about that, you can go over to lovecoachheidi.com and download my free book on codependency, the attachment personality patterns, and see which one you are. But a fixer really believes that they're saving the day. Now, this is what I know to be true for sure. In addiction, the more comfortable somebody is using, meaning they have a chief enabler in the household that co-signs their drinking, makes it easy for them, makes sure their consequences are not there, takes away the consequences. The chief enabler is the one who makes the whole show go down, so that nobody gets hurt and tries to sweep things under the rug and protect everybody. And a hero can turn into an enabler. Even with the best intentions, I want to fix this thing, you don't realize that you're actually helping it function instead of fixing it. Okay. Meaning you're doing all the talking as a hero, lecturing, and they're agreeing with you and you're feeling really powerful and great, you're making a difference. But at the end of the day, they're still drunk and high. So we're really not making the difference that we think we're making. Amen. Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. I know some of this stuff's hard to hear, but it's super, super helpful at the end of the day. But here's the truth. Okay. Even though it's hard to hear, it'll benefit you if you can take it in. I know a lot of people who were very comfortable in their home situations and were very easy for them to overdose and die from this addiction. Okay. Just as much as anything else. In fact, there's been research done that more people, children in particular, die from enabling parents with a belly full of meatloaf in the back bedroom getting high than homeless on the streets. Because when they're homeless, at least they have to think to stay alive and they have other things to worry about. When they're home and they've got a belly full of meatloaf and all the bills paid and the laundry folded, all they have to do is get high. And so sometimes when you're there and you're the wife or the husband and you're maneuvering around, you're paying all the bills and you're going to work and you're making sure the family's still successful and you're taking care of everything, you're not saving anybody's life by doing that. You're making it easier for them, in fact, to stay in the lifestyle that they're in. You're making it easier for them to keep being drunk and co-signing and telling not telling to friends and keeping it all secret and hush hush. I know a lot of the families that I work with are high achieving families, high achieving people where there's functioning addicts and alcoholics and they're pretending and making this thing go and getting them out of the party before they go off the deep end and orchestrating the whole thing. And at the end of the day, you're keeping them sick, not helping anybody by staying in that situation. So when you're in the program with me, and we have two programs that I walk you through. One is a very extensive addiction course, and another one is a codependency course. Between those two programs, when we work together, you really understand what your role is, how not to enable, how to really, hold that line. What should the boundaries be? So guilt for, they're not gonna get any worse with you not there. It is what it is. It gets worse because people don't get treatment. Addiction gets worse because people don't get help. Look, if it were true that you were, now this is going to be hard to hear, but here's a truth dose, okay? If it were true that the only reason that you're there making them better and if you're guilty, so if you leave, they're going to get worse. If that were true, wouldn't they already be better? Can't you look at them over the course of the last 20 years or 10 years or however long it's been going on? Can't you already say they've been getting worse even with you there? See, this is how I want you to start questioning your own thoughts around this. So you being there in the house has stopped them from their addiction progressing? No way. So you're not stopping anything. You're not making anything less. You're not stopping anything from getting worse. Their addiction has progressed along even with you there. So when you leave, it's not going to get worse. It's going to get worse with you there or with you gone if they don't get help. I'm teaching you how to question your own mind. Sugar, you shed all over my face. I got dog hair everywhere, dog hair. All right, let's think of another thing, another story we make up. By the way, if this is helpful already, can you just pause it and like it and make a comment about what you're learning so far and how is this helpful for you? I'll tell you why. Some of the comments that I get on my videos are, how in the hell does nobody know you? How in the hell is lots of people aren't watching these videos? That's what people say. Oh my God, this is so helpful. In fact, somebody commented the other day, it was one of the best things I ever heard. They said, you told me my whole life in 10 minutes. Wow, mind blown. I was like, yeah, some of my superpowers, but YouTube is so big and these videos get lost and it's really hard to be seen. It's really hard to be helpful. And that's my goal, is I want to help as many people as possible get their hands on this information. So if you know somebody, please share this video with them. And also when you comment, it does help the video come up in other people's searches that are looking for the exact same thing that you found. Okay, so let's all say a little prayer to Jesus that the video gets seen, it helps more people. And if it's helpful for you, you can help me do that. All right, let's go to the next thing. That is, hey, I'm gonna leave, and I feel guilty because they're gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave, and they are gonna get better, and then I'll have missed my chance with them, and all of a sudden they're better, and here I am in the dust, and I have guilt and that's not really guilt for leaving. That's like feeling fear and anxiety around I'll never meet anybody again, or I'm gonna miss out, or FOMO kind of a situation. And here's the truth. If they're gonna get better, okay, and you leave and you say, all right, I'm gonna go because I can't watch you kill yourself anymore slowly. I can't watch this take place anymore. I can't stand by. I can't co-sign it. You need to be in treatment. That's what I believe in. I'll be over here, okay, while you're getting better, but I just can't be on this ride with you anymore. I cannot participate in it anymore. I'm not a treatment center. You need to go somewhere and get yourself better, and I'll be here. And then they go get better and they don't want you anymore. They go get better, and that happens. It does happen where somebody gets better and they're like, oh my gosh, I realized this relationship was not the one for me. Okay. Do you want to be with somebody who was only with you because you helped them stay sick? Do you want to be with somebody only because they wanted to be with you when they were under the influence of something? Or do you want to be with somebody who chooses you wholeheartedly with all their sober mind, body, spirit, and soul? Now, if you're perplexed about that, or you have issues deciding that, then what I would say to you is that's a self-esteem issue. If you're afraid they're going to get better and not want you, you need more than just this video about guilt. You need to work with somebody on your self-esteem to root down in your value of who you are and what you bring into a relationship. You do not have to settle for somebody who only wants you when they're drunk or high. Amen? You get to have somebody who wants you sober. And 9 times out of 10, by the way, if you are that person who had met somebody when they were well and they became addicted throughout the course of your relationship, and you hold their feet to the fire and you say, I want to be with you when you're well, but I'm not going to be in this relationship with you when I'm not in a relationship with you. I'm not going to be in this relationship with an addiction. I didn't marry an addiction. I married you, So you say that and you hold that line and they go get treatment. 9 times out of 10, when they come back, if there's some foundation there, they thank you for holding that line, and they actually say, you're the thing that made the difference for me. They'll thank you for saving their life 9 times out of 10 because you held the feet. But we're so afraid to say to somebody, hey, I don't want to be with you unless you're well, because we think they're going to abandon us and they're going to choose alcohol, and they probably will for a while. And then what does that tell you? If they're choosing alcohol instead of you and you're afraid to make that commitment that they need to get better because you're thinking to yourself, they won't pick me. That tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? And again, that's a deeper issue. That's a self-esteem thing that you and I need to work through. Let me get rid of that reminder. Okay. Are we doing good? Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you bagging what I'm mowing? Are you smelling when I'm stepping in. Yeah? Okay, good. Let's keep going. Because I think I feel it's helpful. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the vibe that you're watching the video and you're like, wow. I felt that. I felt you were like, yeah, that's good. Good. Write it down. Put a sticky note up. Write it in lipstick on your mirror. Whatever you get out of this video, put your nugget of wisdom, put your pearl of wisdom in the comments and let me know what it was. Oh, you went down? What are you doing? You went down? Or are you stuck? Hi. All right, let's go to the next one. It's my job or responsibility to fix them. Okay. It's my job or responsibility to fix them. This is a huge one where, again, if you're a fixer, then you do think like, yeah, this is my life's mission to fix them. And I know people, especially people that are kind of spiritually centered, a lot of Christian people that are thinking, this is God's assignment, for me. I mean, people really can have the spectrum of how deep this belief goes. It can be like a deep held conviction that it's my job and responsibility. And here's what I want to say to you. You suck at your job if that's your job. And I hate to be the one to tell you, but let's do a performance review. And now look, you might be really mad at me right now and feel a little heartbroken. I don't want you to feel heartbroken. I want you to understand I'm coming to you with love. And a good coach doesn't like tell you all the nice, sweet stuff like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're doing such a great job. They say to you, this is where you suck. Okay. This is where you need some help. This is where things are not going well. This is the truth of the situation. This is what's really happening. The reality smacks in the face. I had a supervisor one time that called me the queen of slap and soothe. And I was like, is that a good thing? I don't really know. I felt like, I don't like that idea. But he was like, what you do is you like smack people with the truth, but then you love them through the truth and soothe them with the great news, which is you can get control of this and be empowered. So here's the slap. You suck at your job responsibilities because here's the truth. If you were better, if your job was to fix the addict or alcoholic, how are you doing? You do your own performance review. How are you doing? Are you excelling? Let's do like overall performance, 1 to 5. Okay. And being a treatment center, how are you doing? How are you doing as a treatment center? If you were the treatment center and the therapist and the coach, would you give yourself a raise? Would you fire yourself? Because I'm going to tell you something, 9 times out of 10, if you look at this and you say, well, this is the place I put my loved one in, this is the house, I would take them out. I would fire myself and put them somewhere to actually get help. Okay. So if it is your job and responsibility, you can't be, you're not good at this. Okay. And you might think, well, they're alive, but that has nothing to do with you. That's by the grace of God that they're still here. Okay. So if it is your job and responsibility, I want you to think about this a little bit differently. What does a good leader do? If let's put you not in the job, like you're not the tech, you're not like the sober tech, okay? You're not the therapist. You are the CEO of this company then. You're the CEO of the treatment center. And if that's true, and you want to take this all the way home, this belief system, what does a good leader do? What does a good CEO do? They delegate that shit. They find other people that play, like John Maxwell used to say, that play at what they have to work at. And when I was a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company in corporate America and did all that kind of stuff, I didn't run everything. I wasn't responsible. It wasn't my job to do everything. I hired people who played at what I had to work at. And I got those people and delegated those tasks and things. And so I want you to fire yourself from whatever position you're in that you are not equipped at and delegate that responsibility out. Now, when you're in my program, this is a whole 2 weeks training. How to delegate, who to delegate to, this dog hair. Whew. What to delegate out, who to delegate to. All this is part of the program. Iced coffee. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about delegating it out and how can you fire yourself? It's not your responsibility, okay? And if it is your responsibility, you suck, delegate it out to somebody else, Okay, fire yourself. This last one I'm going to talk about and riff on today. And by the way, thanks for spending time with me today. It's so good to see you. Did you have your coffee today? Because sometimes we can watch these videos and have our little coffee talk. Come hang out together. All right. This last one's really important, and this is one that gets us every time. My children need a fill in the blank. My children need a dad. My children need their mother. And that is why I have guilty feelings for leaving. Now, this is legitimate. This is something I know you think on the deepest at your core level. My kids need fill in the blank. My kids deserve to have a dad. My kids deserve to have a mom. My kids deserve whatever you tell yourself. Let's think differently. And we think differently by getting out of the thought we're having, by interrupting the pattern, by asking better questions. So a question I have for you is, do your kids need an alcoholic? Do your kids deserve an addict? Now, again, I'm shaking you up here with this loving kind of slap, right? But here's the soothe. Research has shown that even in the midst of a dysfunctional family, as long as children have one person who's stable, consistent, loving, all the things, right, and is able to provide, that they're going to be okay. But I'm going to guarantee you that when you're in that dynamic with the addict or alcoholic, you're not okay either, because you're getting sucked in and you're succumbing to the anxiety, the resentment, the confusion, the pain, and now they have two fucked up parents instead of one. I love you. Remember that. So if you're going to be the healthiest version of yourself, because that's what your kids need a healthy person to guide them and equip them and empower them and help them along. Are you able to do that inside of this dynamic? And if the answer is no, you can't be the healthy person, well, then there you have it. So your kids deserve to have a safe place. Your kids deserve to have consistency. Your kids deserve to have their basic needs met. Your kids deserve to have above and beyond needs met. Your kids deserve to have a healthy, happy home. Can you create that for them in the dynamic that you're in? Because the story you're telling yourself, they deserve to have a dad. They don't have a dad. They have a Rick who's drunk. Your kids deserve to have a mom. They don't have a mom. They have a Rita who's high. Let's get out of the roles and look at the reality of the people that we have in our lives, and then ask yourself, do they deserve that? Do they need that? And I'm going to tell you something. We need alcoholics like we need a what? When we're little kids. I mean, we don't need, so what's a story that you're telling yourself? Now, this has been a really good session. I'm going to say that. Okay. I know it's been good for me, and it's kind of like, has it been good for you too? Probably painful, probably a little bit like a gut punch, but also hopefully really empowering, because I really believe the truth will set you free. I think with the delusion that we live in around, addiction, and we paint this picture, and a lot of us do splitting where we put Rick over here and dad over here, and we say, oh, but he's such a loving dad, except when he's drunk. But the kids, it doesn't stop doing that. It's like Jekyll and Hyde, split personality. I like the you that's here, but not the you that's here. If you can't love all the you and everything with it, then it's time to make some other choices and decisions. You don't get to split and compartmentalize. Our experience, we don't get to do that, okay? When we're experiencing an alcoholic, we're experiencing dad as an alcoholic. Not like, okay, well, this isn't dad, but this is dad. I mean, that's crazy. That's setting people up for abusive relationships down the road. So when they get hurt, you go, you didn't mean to do that. The you that doesn't do that, I like. The you that does do that, I don't like. I mean, what are we teaching our kids? That's crazy, right? So I know that this has been helpful for you, but here's step 3. Step 1, just to remember, is to ask yourself, what story am I telling myself that's creating this feeling of guilt, anxiety, confusion, resentment? You can fill that in for anything. Step number 2 is don't believe everything you think. Thank you, Lao Tzu, Dao De Ching, and all the great thinkers and masters of our time, of beyond time, okay? Don't believe everything you think. And how you do that is you ask better questions of yourself. You try to reframe things in your own mind that don't support your health and wellness. And step number 3 is you get support for implementation. You get support for the perspiration, the hard things that you're going to have to do, and the questions that you need to ask. Wouldn't it be great to be in a session with me today in group in one of my programs where you could like stop me and raise your hand and ask a question and have that interaction. I know it's miraculous, it's life-changing when you're able to be heard on the other side of this. And I long for that kind of relationship with you too. I'd love to hear from you. I'll take your comments. Oh, mommy bought something on eBay. And it is coming. It's a Barbie holder. My little 7-year-old, at the time of making this video, is back into Barbies. And I like that because I like Barbies. And so we're getting a little Barbie carrier so we can take her on. Okay, anyway, TMI. All right, this is a longer video today, but well worth it, right? Okay, I love you. I don't really want to go, but I gotta go. I gotta go do some stuff.